Okay, it seems that we are live. Hold on. Make sure I. Okay, not sure why I don't see myself on the big screen. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome. I know I have no viewers. Viewers are not in here yet, so this is the very beginning of the chat. So I want to thank everybody for dropping by and saying hello. Welcome to God Talk. I am Brother John, and today's topic, and we hope we can stay on track as more people come in the room. We have a tendency to go off track. But today's topic, I like to talk about the power of choice. And what does that mean to you? Do we even think about the choices we make? Do we really consciously think about the choices we make? Do we think about the consequences? Oops. Uh-oh. Okay, I got to stop that. Hold on. Getting that echo. And yeah, so I want to talk about choice, and people come in the room and talk about, I don't know, maybe good choices and bad choices they've made. Maybe if they would have done things a little bit differently. How can we improve our choices? I want to get input from everybody. And what influences our choices? Is it our belief system? Is it the politics? Is our ideology? Is our family, our friends, our job? How much influence does these things have on our choices? So I am wearing my yin and yang shirt today. I think that is relevant to the conversation. So with that, we have. Oh, by the way, another announcement. You guys haven't noticed, I have the name of my channel has changed. I'm trying to avoid all kinds of confusion that was going on, and so it is no longer Third Proverb. Yeah, kind of an end to an era, but it'll be now Brother John. I'm always, that's how I always address myself in my videos. So just call me John, or like Prescott here in the room, like wants to call me Bro Joe. Hey Prescott, hey, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. I choose to feel good today.
Well, we can bring that to an end pretty quick, can't we?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Get
But I,
some.
see, but I see you're outside in nature. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm right outside my house. The sun is going. We're about to
Yeah.
have a sunset here, and I'll see how long I last out here. I could feel the chill coming in the air already, but I figure let me get some, breathe in some fresh air,
Yeah.
and, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm I'm really grateful for where I am at. To have a lot of nature around me, and
Yeah.
creek behind me, and it helps. Like definitely helps. I have a favorite spot. Well, it's over here. It's a willow tree, weeping willow, that hangs over my creek, and that's probably one of my favorite spots just to sit. It's a spot where I can actually view the sunrise or the sunset. Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah, so it's a nice spot.
Yeah. Yeah. My home is up in Cape Breton Island. I'm usually usually in the weekends I'm at my dad's place. But yeah, right on the water, so it's quite nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Reuben. Well,
Ruben goes, yeah. For the
yeah.
for the audience, we have our text master in the room. That's what I like to call him, Ruben Goldstein. Sometimes I even question if that's his real name. I don't know, because he's so
it's
anonymous. I
it's
really do question his
it's
name.
too obvious.
Too obvious. And
It's kind of like John Smith or something like that, or Bob
yeah,
Smith. Yeah,
yeah. Or Prescott Johnson.
yeah, that's very common.
Yeah, so um Wow, man, they're all just popping in all of a sudden. Everybody's popping in the room.
Once Reuven gave them the link, I guess. I don't know.
So yeah, we got Reuven, our text master. Thanks for coming, Reuven. J Dubs, hey man. We got Adam, Laura, good to see you again. Art Norris, Benny from Europe. I think that's a new face. That's a new name. And we have Nadia. And okay, so wow, got almost a full room here.
Naughty
So,
Nadia.
hi Nadia. So yeah, the topic is choice. I know we're probably definitely going to evolve into some kind of religious or political discussion, which, hey, I'm all for. I love listening. I love trying to participate as much as possible. But let's try to start off with choice, and maybe I'll leave the floor open for some people to offer their opinion. But I'm going to just take a quick definition here from Wikipedia. Choice consists of a mental decision of judging the merits of multiple options and selecting one or more of them. While a choice can be made between imagined options, like a what would I do if kind of thing, often a choice is made between real options and followed by the corresponding action. And then it goes into an example like, you're taking a journey and you have to choose which way you're going to go on this journey. You're going to take the fast route, you're going to take the scenic route, those kind of things. So I believe that, choice in our lives, I believe that except for some people who are, either comatose or have really are mentally handicapped and cannot make any kind of reasonable choice. Besides those cases, I say, and the dead, I would say that every one of us has that power of choice, the power to choose what I'm going to think about, down to even a moment thing, the power to choose what I'm going to do my day, what I'm going to think about, who I'm going to hang out with, and all these other kinds of things. And I think these choices will not in all instances, I would say, because we could talk about this, that there are choices that are made for us that, what can we do about sometimes? But I think that for the most part, our choices can kind of build that road or our destiny for ourselves. So with that kind of intro and all that, I will leave the floor open for anybody who has any thoughts or any contribution. Go for it.
Well, this begs the whole question of determinism. And I dare say the social psychology concepts are all ill-grounded. They don't describe the underlying neurological phenomena. They don't aren't barely even self-consistent and to whatever extent they are essentially vulnerable to Occam's razor. The executive control functions of the brain and the frontal and prefrontal cortexes and so on are mechanical processes, very much like a computer calculating the sum of a bunch of numbers you input in on a tape or whatever. And to that extent, we can conceptualize choices as ultimately a neurological phenomenon underlying, which way our limbs or organs or whatever move, yet they are very much the product of one's formation, history, and circumstance as is anything else.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Nadia, are you saying that ultimately you do not have any choices?
Yes.
The course is pretty much predestined already? The course of your life?
Yes.
So did you choose to come here on this chat, or or did someone else or something else make that decision for you, like your brain? I mean, I don't understand.
The mechanical processes of, neurological function cause my body to move in such a way that I press the buttons to enter this chat. And they were determined by, the way I was formed, genetically, developmentally in the womb, my history of, childhood, career arc, so on and so forth, and my present circumstances as well, like being here in Oakland, California, and this SRO with a cell phone with 4G LTE and so on.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Would anyone else like to respond to Nadia's line of thinking there, or do you offer your own thoughts?
I want to say something about choice. I think the choices that we make are heavily dependent on the chemicals we take into our body. Like, for instance, like most people would agree that the heroin and meth users are their own communities, but people do not recognize that the rest of the community is the caffeine community, the tea drink community, the coffee community, the 5-hour energy community. Like that is the main community. And then there's also like a marijuana community and other communities.
So is there a levothyroxine community, a liothyronine community,
yeah, family,
community,
other concepts, other things come
community,
into it. I'm just saying, I think most of the choices we make are dependent on the chemicals that we do put in our body.
Okay.
To some extent, of course, and to another, I think you're actually leading in.
Yeah, I guess
Very
the most obvious one would be alcohol. You drink too much alcohol. Yeah, that would definitely influence some choices you make. I've heard it say that alcohol is like courage in a bottle. People will choose or do things that they would not normally do, but because the alcohol kind of lowers their inhibitions and stuff, that they do other things, whether that's good or bad.
I always look at the free choice thing always as like a train. The train track is laid down, and the stops are already determined. But what I get to choose is where I sit on the train.
Yeah, there are like little things in between. I just think that even to the point where we decide who to associate with based on what they put in their bodies, like alcohol and stuff, like caffeine. Then people will be like, "Oh, well, heroin users are bad," but I drink 3 cups of coffee a day and I'm fine.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying like we should just let everybody do heroin. I'm just saying like that's a weird distinction to make when they're both affecting your heart, affecting your mind, affecting everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I got a prescription for Provigil and was able to do that instead of caffeine.
I mean, I definitely agree that who I am as a person now is already, is determined by how my life was in the past, how I was raised. If someone raised me to be an absolute monster, and that's what I was taught my whole life. How am I supposed to change?
Because there's some like Mormons, they don't do anything but they do caffeine a little bit, but some of them don't do anything now because they don't drink the Mormon tea even. Or what? That wasn't caffeine. That's ephedrine.
So I mean, okay, I guess there's no avoiding it. I didn't really want to get into this like free will against determinism topic, but I guess it is part of it. So for those of you who think you have no choice, then if life goes crappy,
it's not that there's no choice. It's your product of your environment, I think. Because like he was saying, like it can also depends on how you're raised and stuff.
Okay, but I'm saying Sasha, but do you have you have the ability to make conscious choices to change that, or to at least change some of it?
But have you heard of Amala and Kamala?
No.
There was this like tribe, and they thought there was ghosts out in the woods, but what it was these 2 girls that were raised by wolves, and these British people came in, and they wanted to figure out what was going on, so they wanted to find out where the ghosts were, and they went out and they found this wolf den, and they found the 2 little girls in there, and one of them was like 3 or 4 years old, and one of them was like 7. They both walked in their on all fours and stuff, and they ate like wolves, and they could speak to the wolves, and they behaved like wolves. And then they brought them into the regular human society and tried to make them wear clothes, and they would always rip them off and stuff. And then one of them actually it was kind of assimilated into society and could learn how to talk and stuff, and the other one just stayed in the corner and ended up dying because it wouldn't eat like a person or anything. And then the other one just died because that one died. So like you can want to change it, but there's also a point where I think like you can't change it, like because like it's just like how you were raised or what your brain has been on for so long.
Okay. Anyone else? I want to welcome Alton to the room. Anyone else have any other insights?
Well, this Ramachandra's interpreter gives us the notion of why we have this sort of illusion of making some kind of decision or whatever. And furthermore, well, you end up with the question of if there's some kind of quote-unquote free will choice happening, then, well, where is it happening? Pinpoint it in the fMRI scan, which part of the brain, blah, 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 and you're in deep trouble.
See, I guess, you know, the problem I'm having here is that I guess some of you think, okay, most if not all choices are kind of made for us. Like J Dubs was saying, you know, if you have a tendency to be, you know, a murderer or, you know, whatever, there's nothing changing that your genetic makeup, blah blah blah, or, you know, you have a tendency to do something else. I mean, for me, I have a problem with that. I to some extent, yes, but I think I would like to believe that I can change the course of my life. If I want, you know, if things are going, you know, not the way I want to do, I think there's, to a certain extent, I can make choices to better that, whether it be education, have to move somewhere, or whatever, man. So, to a lot of the determinists, I have to call bullshit. I don't know.
I feel the same. What is removing part of your brain by choice if your brain is like supposed to be making the choices for you? Why would it do that? Like, because some people they used to do lobotomies and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that happened. How would somebody choose to do that or go into that situation if their brain is the thing making choices for them? And people, their therapists would tell them this is the best option. This is how you're going to cure your mania.
Could they have chosen not to get the lobotomy?
Yeah, they could have, I'm sure, but I mean, like, why would your brain choose to do that to itself? I think that's more of like influence, that you're being influenced in that situation.
Well, can I chime in for a second? Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, how you doing,
Thank you. I'm doing well, thank you. Since this is an old chestnut for me, so I apologize if you guys have already covered all of this. I mean, for me, and I know Nadia's position, so I'm similar to that. But I think that it is disconcerting. To think of this idea that we're automatons and that we have no control over what we do, and I think it's certainly not necessarily a pleasurable experience to think about ourselves in those terms. We like to think of ourselves as unique, certainly as independent or as capable of exercising some kind of independence or independent thought. The problem that I have with this is that all of that. While I agree with all of that aside for the moment, I cannot see where there would be a mechanism for this to happen. So if I say, for example, that if I make an assertion and I say I don't believe it's possible to have a mind in the absence of a physical brain, okay? In other words, if I take a spoon and stick it in your skull and stir it up, I suspect that you, whoever you are, will be gone. You won't exist anymore. If that's true, okay, and there is a dependency on this, but if that's true, then it seems to me that anything any choice that I become aware of, my choice here to pick up this book and wave it around, has to have been the result of some sort of an electrical chemical impulse or scenario that occurred in my brain. And if I sit here and I mull over whether I want to pick up that book or not, to go back, I guess, a step and say, well, I'd like to show everybody my new book, but I'm too lazy to pick it up. Well, and I can bounce that idea. That idea can bounce around in my head all day long. But that process, I think, as well, a thought, not just an action, but a thought, has to be the result of a chemical, an electrical stimulus or set of stimuli in my brain. And so I sort of get to this point where I can walk back any series of thoughts, but at no point is there anywhere that I sort of can interject control without that sense of control also being the result of an electrical stimulus. And so I end up looking at myself very much like a player piano, like an old player piano, that there is a spool with holes punched in it. And if I'm the piano, I am aware of the music that I am playing, and I have this, I don't like to use the word illusion, but I have this idea that I am choosing each note as it comes along. So I am choosing to play a C sharp and an E flat and a G and a G sharp and whatever. But the reality of how I work as a piano is that that is simply an illusion. I am choosing those notes because they were punched on the paper, and once there's this awareness, once that punch comes around, I think of it like a choice. But the fact is, there is no mechanism outside of the brain to exert that control that's not itself dependent on the brain. And so that's sort of where I end up with this, that I think that there is, I don't like it any more than the next guy, but I don't see an alternative way to explain the process. And some people, I'm going to try and cut off an objection here to pass. Some people, will say that we'll start talking about, quantum mechanics versus hard determinism. And for me, that sort of is a non-issue, because even, and I would grant you, quantum effects happen. So, right, hypothetically, if I could roll the whole universe back 5 seconds here and have the exact same starting state, there's no guarantee that it would play out the same way the next time we go through it. But for me, that introduces randomness, but it doesn't introduce control any more than I had without the quantum fluctuations. So that's kind of where I sit. And I've always been curious, the people that argue for free will, I'm always been curious to hear what is the mechanism that you would posit for producing that free control, or that sense of control. Excuse me.
That was well said.
I think with free will, it would be that you would have those influence, say like adrenaline pumped into your body. That doesn't mean you have to stand up and lift up a car. You can, but you doesn't mean you have to.
No, it would. No, it doesn't. But it does mean you have to, if. And again, yeah, not to make a whole another scenario, but if you happen to be under the car, right, and it just crushed your leg, right, and then the adrenaline pumps in there, right, well, you do have to, if that set of impulses occurs in your brain that makes you push the car up.
I think it's more of influences than just naturally, than a direct making you do it, like, because if I smoke weed, it doesn't turn me into a certain kind of person because now my brain is on the mechanism of weed. I start to associate with different things because I have memories and like I can talk to different things with different people and stuff. And same thing with alcohol. People start having drinking stories and like it's not a direct thing. It's an influential thing.
Well, okay, there's a difference I think there. I think that let me start from the outside and work my way in. Absolutely. I think that our brains learn to behave differently based on external stimuli that they received. So if we sit in this conversation and somebody, for example, posits some idea that I've never heard before, yes, that is going to color my thought about that subject from this point forward. I wouldn't have thought about it this way had you not said this. So I think just like a computer that has the ability to receive inputs from a keyboard or from a mouse or from a disk drive, all those external impulses certainly do affect how the brain runs. Okay, but I think when you start talking about your own brain controlling itself, I think that's where you get the problem. In other words, this idea, for example, that I have a drink. Okay, let's say I shoot 10 tequilas. And then I find myself talking to my dead mother, right? And I'm sitting in the room here imagining that she's sitting here with me because I've gone a little overboard. Well, the fact that I think that she's sitting here is again the result of some impulse that's happened in my brain. Now that impulse may not have happened in the absence of taking on a massive amount of alcohol, but that alcohol caused a change, a chemical change in my brain that resulted in this set of impulses that, you know, at the end of that line somewhere, made me think that I could see my mother sitting in the chair out of here. But again, there is no control that I have. No matter how far back you walk it, I can give you the same answer, and it works. So, you know, you could say, well, I chose to drink. And I could say, well, no, you didn't. There was some response, something happened in your brain, there was a chemical response that made you want to go out and have a drink. It forced you to pick up that tequila and stick it in your mouth and swallow it down.
Do you think we are more conscious than mice, whether it be in memory or in some concept that is consciousness? Do you think we are more conscious than them somehow?
I'll answer that and say yes, but as long as you let me also say that I'm not sure what actually constitutes consciousness. I don't think I'm alone there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. What does that mean? And I'm not really sure either. I'm not sure what it means either, but I would say we are.
Okay.
Well,
We have something to us that lets us make decisions based more on something than just the influences
Well, but
around.
see, when you say that, I think you cross that line. I think that I am aware of what it means to be human, okay? And all of this language is problematic. I understand that. And I'm not sure that a mouse is aware of what it means to be a mouse. Maybe it is. I don't know, but I'm assuming it doesn't. But again, I think it's incumbent, if you're going to say that we have a sense of control, I'm not ruling it out, but then you have to at least give me a mechanism by which it could happen.
Again, I would submit that somehow through either the ingestion of milk or some plant, we had a choline boost or some kind of drug boost, and our brains became more capable of conscious thought than other ones because we began to think, well, what is that other guy thinking? Because when you trip on mushrooms or something, you really do think like, oh, I think I can understand him. And if you couldn't even speak with words, you would still try to figure it out. And I think that's how consciousness came about.
Well, okay, but that's a different. Okay, but again, I think those are two different questions. At least I do. I think consciousness, or how consciousness comes about, is not the same question as do we have any independent control of our own self. I don't think those are the same questions. Just like the piano. The piano might be aware that it's playing music, but that's not the same question. We just don't know what we're trying to
identify. Like, what is the consciousness? Like, what is it? I'm trying to say where it came from, and you're trying to ask what it is, and I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, and again, I based this on my very first sort of hypothesis or assertion that I don't think you can have a thought without a physical brain. I think there is a very real dependency that's demonstrable there. And of course,
then, do you think plants retain memories?
I don't think so.
You don't think that they are somehow evolution is a form of memory itself? DNA is a form of memory?
Well, I think I'm happy to explore that idea, and yes, I think that DNA carries with it a set of instructions that will produce a similar, creature the next time around, and so in that sense, I guess it is a memory. But I think when we're talking about humans, we're talking about a self-awareness that memory is there.
But could a plant be called like a brain? It doesn't have one, but it is kind of like one. It takes in external stimuluses.
Yeah, but see, I think this is very dangerous because I think this is the problem. Is once we start getting on that slippery slope, then we can make a case for anything as long as we modify the definitions of the word sufficiently that it fits in the end.
Well, no, I'm just we compared a mouse to a human. I'm just comparing a plant of consciousness to a human of consciousness now.
Yeah, I don't see that I don't see any evidence that there is a consciousness there, and that's the only